I know we were expecting some new developments this weekend, but some of them have failed quality control. Make sure you indicate what you'd like redeveloped via the workstation.
Hey, what's up guys, aarava here, and welcome back to an episode of my F1 2018 career mode, episode number 73 today for the British Grand Prix in Season 4. If you guys did miss the previous one, the Austrian Grand Prix, then be sure to go check that one out before you see this one. I think there was a little bit of a publishing issue on YouTube yesterday, so definitely go make sure you check that one out before you see this one, because you might have missed it in your subscription box. But coming into this episode then, you saw we had a failure of the ultimate tyre upgrade, so no ultimate upgrade for this one. It will mean if we do fix the upgrade for next time at the German Grand Prix, we could have 2 ultimate upgrades come in, so that'll be quite exciting. But I'll have to see if we get enough resource points at the end of the weekend. But going into this then, we only have that minor upgrade then coming in, so ironically the upgrade we actually purchased after the ultimate one comes in before that ultimate upgrade, with the chassis weight reduction, so we make a slight gain on Red Bull there. So slowly but surely we are closing the gap to the Red Bull guys technically on paper there and the performance chart. McLaren with a big leap as well, so I think they brought an ultimate upgrade that I think that looks like on the chart, so it might be quite a close fight there. Obviously Renault will still be up there, because although they are a little bit lagging behind on the actual chart, clearly you saw they had a 1-2 last episode, spoiler alert. If you have made it this far, then you should have already clicked off to catch up on the Austrian Grand Prix episode. So obviously they're going to be pretty strong, I would assume. So we're going to go through into Q1 then already and go to the end of the lap, and we're going to make it through into Q2, and hopefully it can be a successful weekend. Obviously my home Grand Prix, the team obviously not, but hopefully I can just do a good thing. Obviously we return here to Silverstone as a double world champion. So I spoke about this time last season about Hamilton still probably being the home favourite, being Hamilton, but now I think with 2 championships on the trot here as a Brit, I think definitely coming here as a home pleaser, home crowd pleaser. And so moving into Q2, our first line lap wasn't too great, because you can see on the top left now as we start our second flyer in Q2, we're in P14, so very slow lap time, and then very odd situation of Sergio Perez coming and hitting me at the very start of my lap there. He loses a bit of front wing. I don't know what on earth he's trying to do, trying to overtake me, but I've got every right to start my lap there. It's his fault if he didn't time it correctly, and he actually goes to try and overtake me then, so I'm assuming he was also on an outlap and he's trying to overtake me on his flyer. But like I said, it's his own fault for not timing it right. He should have backed off if he wanted to try and get ahead of me on the flyer, because I was also on my flyer. So we move through to the end. We do find enough time to eventually get through into Q3 in P6 there. We had to find a lot of time in that second lap. It was very, very odd. That first lap felt pretty comfortable, but it was just so slow. So we found a heap more time in the second one. I don't know if the weather's playing up into that. Obviously, it's very overcast. You could see there on those 3 laps we did in Q1 and both in Q2. So maybe the weather's kind of clearing up a little bit, so maybe the track's getting a bit faster as we go on. But in Q3, pretty much looks like the same conditions, so a little bit odd. And I was also left with only 1 set of soft tyres then. Remember, I set 2 lap times in Q2 on 2 different sets of soft, so I only have this 1 set to go, so we had to wait till the end of the session. Everyone else has already set 1 flyer, and at the moment, very weirdly and oddly, Kimi Raikkonen is on provisional pole position. So I don't know if others got held up as the sun now kind of peers through the clouds, so the track is warming up a little bit, so this might be handy for us. So for now, the session is gone obviously a checkered flag, so everyone's got to finish their lap times. At the moment, Kimi is still on provisional pole, so I'm wondering what on earth we can get now in this session as we go across the line. It is going to be P6, and Raikkonen is going to stay on pole position. So odd. Like, this was such a weird qualifying session the entire time, because Q1 and Q2, the car was also feeling very odd. Like, I felt like I had no speed, and there was Raikkonen setting pretty good lap times on mediums in Q1, a good lap time in Q2, and then here he goes and gets provisional pole by a fair bit to Fernando Alonso there in second place, Verstappen third, Pierre Gasly got it into P4 surprisingly, ahead of both Renaults, and Ricciardo also didn't do too well. He's behind me on the road. We went from last episode, we had to make a comeback drive, but both me and Kimi did not have the pace to be anywhere near the podium last episode, and obviously the ones before that, the last 3, have been talking about the car, clearly just didn't have any pace. We weren't really near a win, and we got gifted one obviously at the French Grand Prix. That doesn't really count, and we come here and Kimi is just able to walk all over me in qualifying and is getting provisional pole as well, beating the Red Bull cars. Very confusing. I feel like the car is almost broken in a way. Like, it's almost like a Haas situation in real life. Like, it just goes up and down. We had a situation at the beginning of the season like that. You know, our car started off really poor at Australia and Bahrain, and then we go to China, and it's on pace to get us a pole and a 1-2 in the race for the beginning stint, and then it kind of drops off the face of the earth then for the next couple of rounds, and then suddenly we're back here at Silverstone, and the car's magically fast enough again to get pole. Very confusing times, but I'll take it. You know, Kimi clearly had some good pace there, so fair enough. He's beating me today. That's fair and square. So we just have to try and do a good job in the race. But here's hoping that the race pace is just as good as the qualifying pace for Raikkonen's sake, and maybe I can try and tap into that for myself and try and join him on the podium if indeed he does get away from the 5 row lights without any kind of issue. So let's go into Sunday then and just see what's what, really. But I'm just baffled.
We're right back where it all began. The very first World Championship Grand Prix was held here at Silverstone in 1950, with Giuseppe Farina taking the top step of an all-Alfa Romeo podium. He earned 9 championship points that day on his way to the inaugural title. His winning total at the season's end, just 30 points. My, how times have changed. So let's see who can reach the top step of the modern podium today. The 3.6 miles of the Silverstone circuit in Great Britain is hallowed ground to the Formula One faithful. We have 18 corners that wrap around this former World War II airbase, and some good passing opportunities at the end of the DRS zones on the Wellington and Hangar straights. A warm welcome to Anthony Davidson, who's beside me in the commentary box today. Let's talk about Mercedes. They've had 1 retirement in the last 5 races. What do you think that says about the reliability of their car?
It's a good statistic for sure, as it demonstrates not only mechanical reliability, but consistency from both drivers as well. These are 2 of the first boxes you have to tick for any successful season.
Well then, after an exciting qualifying session yesterday, let's take a look at how the cars line up. Kimi Raikkonen starts today from pole position, edging out Max Verstappen, who'll start from P2. Looking down the rest of the grid, we have Gasly, Hülkenberg, the engineer, and Sainz, Bottas, Hartley, Van Dorn, and Kevin Magnussen. Ricciardo, Alonso, Sergio Perez, and Leclerc, Ericsson, Grosjean, Esteban Ocon, and Lewis Hamilton. Stroll and Sergei Sirotkin rounds off the grid. And with lights out just moments away, it's time to go down to the track.
Alright, so we line up in P5 on the grid because Fernando Alonso has been handed a grid penalty, so that makes our life a little bit easier by 1 spot, but we still have a lot of work to do to try and understand what on earth is going on with this car around Silverstone. And clearly I'm losing a lot of time to Raikkonen somewhere, and he's finding some sort of line or way to drive the track. That he's finding the surprising pace out of this car that's just come out of nowhere really for this episode. But in terms of strategy, it's the bog standard Silverstone 1-stop, soft to medium, but there is some complication perhaps at the end of this race. There is some forecast for some rain there on that indicator, so we'll have to watch out for that. Might be some typical British weather coming up. But here we go then to 5 red lights to the British Grand Prix. 26 laps of Silverstone are on the way to a good start there for Nico Hülkenberg. A shaky one for us on the left-hand side. Carlos Sainz might be trying to make a move into turn 1, and there's been a bit of contact there for Hülkenberg, and we just about narrowly miss him by an absolute inch there, and we're up into P4 then. Pierre Gasly with a great start in P3, Verstappen P2, but Raikkonen from pole position is already getting away from the Dutchman there, so Raikkonen already finding the groove and finding something in that car on lap 1 to find the pace, but a great start for us then actually to turn 1. Initially was a little bit worried I was going to get overtaken by Sainz and whoever was trying to go down my inside into turn 1, but then looks like I think it was Gasly and Hülkenberg that made some contact there, and so Hülkenberg really had to back out of that, so he's below us. And then speaking of Gasly up ahead, he's trying to go for a move on Verstappen, so the Toro Rosso Honda fancies a move on the more senior Red Bull racing car. Fantastic stuff there to see Gasly so aggressive, and so this might get very interesting indeed if Gasly, Verstappen and myself are going to go fighting. They're 2 drivers that we have dealt with in the past, and we know how aggressive they can both be, so let's watch out for this and be careful. For now I can't get quite close enough to make a move though, and it's Gasly still putting the pressure on Verstappen in the middle on Maggins and Beckett, so he gets the overtake done on the inside there at a fabulous move, but Verstappen might just have enough speed to come back at him. He's got DRS open, I've got DRS DRS, but you can see we're getting ever closer. So could we make a pop to the inside here? This might be our chance. We're going to go 3 wide momentarily down the inside of the back end of Stowe, but Verstappen has blocked us off. He's just about had the grip to find it ahead of us, and Gasly is waltzed around the outside of both of us to make it essentially a double overtake anyway, because he kind of had to re-overtake Verstappen in the brake zone and then overtake me trying to overtake him. Meanwhile, we've got the two Renaults fighting hammer and tong. Sainz, I think, defending from Hulkenberg. I think that is, I can't quite tell who's who from the back end there, but the two of them side by side into turn 1, never going to end well, so one of them has to back out eventually. Behind them is Stoffel Van Dorn, Valtteri Bottas, and then Dan Ricciardo, obviously Alonso, being put all the way outside the top 10, so he's going to have a lot of work to do to catch up in this Grand Prix. Meanwhile, we still go chasing after Verstappen, who is keeping the pressure on Gasly, and all the meanwhile, on the mini-map, you can see Raikkonen is just loving life. He's getting away from everyone and just doing his own thing, controlling this Grand Prix, whilst us three fight over and squabble over P2, P3 and P4. And speaking about squabbling, on the exit of Beckett's, we might have a front row seat to watch this fight between Verstappen and Gasly, with Verstappen having DRS as well. We just don't have the slipstream power to actually catch up and try and overtake him ourselves. Instead, we just watch these two go at it, and Gasly's now being re-overtaken, but he has the inside line crucially for the next left-hander. Bit of contact made as Verstappen swipes across a little bit aggressively, gets the elbows out, but the Red Bull will be on the inside now for the final corner. He'll able to squeeze the Frenchman out, and Gasly has to let out of that throttle, and so we might now have a chance to attack the Toro Rosso Honda car. But as we move on now to almost the same place on track as go through the old turn 1 cops towards Magnus and Beckett's, a little bit of a lift and having to go very aggressive on the curbing and down to 7th gear. So at this stage of the race, we just don't have the downforce, and Gasly has just gone on the outside into Magnus and Beckett's of Verstappen. He's trying to overtake him, and he has done it, maybe. No, not quite. Verstappen comes back at him. Fantastic fighting between the Frenchman and the Dutch in the middle of Magnus and Beckett's, but that's allowed us now have a great run. We get a great exit off that corner on the main straight, DRS open, down the inside into Stowe, and we do get that move done, and we're up into 2nd place of the Grand Prix to make it a 1-2 for Ferrari. Also, whilst doing that, squeezing out Verstappen in the last chicane, and I think he's now fallen behind Gasly then, so Gasly will be in P3. So now it's just about trying to get away from these guys and control our position in P2. Meanwhile, now we've got Gasly, who's already made a pit stop. By the time we get to lap number 9, Raikkonen's going to be in as well. Verstappen, I think, also might follow him in. Yes, he does on the mini-map there, so we're going to continue on for one more lap onto lap 10. Of course, we're going to medium tyres. There's a definite chance that some of these guys might be going onto the blue wall hard tyre, so we need to try and stretch these to make sure the mediums are fresh enough right at the end of the Grand Prix, as has been the case for all 3 seasons, really. I don't think I've ever touched the blue wall tyre in race conditions, because it's just so horrendous in practice that I never want to touch it. And so we come in now on the very next lap. So Verstappen, Gasly might well try and get an undercut here, but for the sake of going on mediums, it's worth it. And we'll have to try and re-overtake them if they do even get us. I don't know. Our pace was okay enough to actually keep up in P2, so here's hoping that we don't need to re-overtake, but we make the pit stop there. Van Dorn, though, on the right there on the camera shot, has held us up indefinitely there. I could have gone just before Van Dorn, but no, the pit crew thought we have to wait for a safe release. So Van Dorn just cost us maybe a second or more there in the pit lane. So now there might be a real worry that Verstappen jumps us. Maybe not Gasly, but Verstappen, who I think did overtake Gasly before Gasly made his pit stop. So he might be well ahead of us. And yes, he is there, and as well as Carlos Sainz as well. So 2 cars ahead of me, and it's not Pierre Gasly. Gasly is actually right behind me, ahead of Van Dorn there. You can see in the background of Village that he's actually overtaken Van Dorn around the outside there. So good going there for the Frenchman, but very odd. Out of nowhere, Carlos Sainz has come waltzing through into this top 2 and 3 fight. Very odd. So yeah, Verstappen's in P2. Obviously, Kimi still leads the way. Sainz is now in P3. I'm in P4. And P5, well, was Pierre Gasly, but now Van Dorn is trying to say something else about it there. So the lead McLaren in this race trying to force his way into the top 5 fight, and the Toro Rosso fighting back as much as he can through Luffield, but doesn't get the quite apex he wanted there. So Van Dorn forcefully comes through up into P5. But yeah, so now out of nowhere we've got Carlos Sainz to fight. Obviously we saw the 2 Renaults fighting hammer and tong before for P5 earlier on the Grand Prix. I don't know where Hulkenberg is now in this race. I assume maybe they fought so much that Hulkenberg maybe had to pit earlier, got held up in traffic or something like that. I hate to think maybe the Renaults tangled a little bit. That's definitely a possibility, because I can't see where Hulkenberg is in any of this. And now Carlos Sainz fancies a move on Verstappen for P2. So in a split second, the Renault of Sainz is forcing his way into the podium shout when they weren't really anywhere near the podium earlier on in stint 1. He locks up though. He's on the blue wall hard tyres actually, me, whereas Verstappen is on mediums, I'm on mediums, Raikkonen I feel is also on mediums, so Renault going with a bit of a contra strategy. Maybe they're feeling they have more tyre wear, and that might bite them in the back, because we got Verstappen now back down the inside to make the move, and he's back up into P2. So although that tyre might be a bit more consistent on tyre wear, right now at this stage is going to be a little bit slower maybe than the white wall medium tyre. But all the while this fighting's happening, Raikkonen is still well and truly out in first place, miles ahead of Verstappen at this point there, and is very comfortable. So I'm still baffled at how on earth he's found the pace in the Ferrari car. To be fair, I'm still surprised we're fighting for a strong podium here. I thought both of us would be a lot further back here at Silverstone, but the car's come good, but it's come a lot better for Raikkonen, who's finding a lot more time out of it around this circuit. I'm definitely going to have to kind of do some homework going to next episode to try and match him, because he's well and truly whooping my arse in this race so far as we close up to Sainz, but couldn't quite make it on the previous clip there. We move on now to lap 14. We might be a little bit closer now with DRS overtake mode on ERS. Rich mix, we might have a go down the inside. We stick our nose in and Sainz backs off there, lets off the throttle to give us the room. There's a little bit of tyre banging. The hand of anger comes out in the cockpit as myself and Carlos Sainz for another time in Night Channel go hammer and tong on an F1 game. Sainz on the outside, myself on the inside. We just can't quite get the grip there, but we'll have a good run of slipstream into turn 1 with DRS open here on the main pit straight. Down the inside we go, and a little lift off, and Sainz lifts off even more, and we're up into P3 then. So close, but we make it work, and we're now in the podium position. Hopefully we can try and get away from Sainz and chase after Verstappen. That's exactly what we do on to lap 16. You can see in the minimap Carlos Sainz really falling away then, so the blue wall hard tyres eventually really show their true colours of no real race pace, and the mediums are the tyre you want to be on. And speaking about pace now, we're really catching up rapidly to Verstappen in Magda Beckett. So finally now I'm feeling some of this good Ferrari pace compared to the Red Bull car, and we're actually closing up quite rapidly on Verstappen. It's going to be an easy pass down the inside of Stowe with DRS open there and overtake mode on the ERS up into P2. A little bit of a shake though on the rear end, so Verstappen might come and try, but we're going to cut him off on the racing line and go very defensive on the last corner, but a little bit slow through the final one, and Verstappen might have a bit of a run to turn 1. We'll have to watch out for that. But on to lap 17 we set a PB lap time there, so finding, like I said, the speed, maybe we're getting into a bit of a groove, and we might be able to try and match Raikkonen's lap times. In terms of closing him down, I'm not too sure, because it looks like on the minimap I would say that's at least a 10-second gap, so that might be a little bit difficult in this Grand Prix. But if I can try and keep a 1-2 for Ferrari, that'd be very ideal. But as the track gets darker and darker, we might have some rain to come, and at the moment I'm in lean mixture because I want to save fuel in this Grand Prix. Don't have too much fuel, and that's meant that Verstappen has just waltzed past me into Copse Corner, and so we go towards Magda Beckett still in lean mixture, because I still need to save fuel within this Grand Prix, because if we're going to continue this fight with Verstappen, I need some rich mix at the end of this thing. So still in lean mixture, but with overtake mode and ERS, we're still able to find the pace on the Red Bull car. So I don't know if Verstappen's maybe turned down his ERS deployment here, but it's a very easy move on the left-hand side, and we're back up into P2 to try and defend this 1-2 for Ferraris. We move on now to lap 18 and talking about defensive work again through Village. Verstappen right up my chuff, but now we set up into rich mix and overtake mode to really try and counteract the DRS of Verstappen down this straight. But Verstappen will have the advantage of the slipstream. He's tucked up right behind it at the moment before moving out to left-hand side to make a move then for P2 once again in this Grand Prix. But we are going round the outside to the inside for Luffield. Squirt the throttle mid-apex, try and force him wide, but Verstappen finds the grip and traction. It's a fantastic comeback at me, and so this is a great scrap for P2, and once again myself and Verstappen go hammer and tong in a Grand Prix in Season 4 of F1 2018 career mode through the inside of Copse. He lets off a little, so initially it looked like it was his corner, but we got it back into Magda Beckett, so we're going to go side by side. Yes, we are. He's on the outside, but he lets off, and so we have the bigger balls eventually, and we're up the order. We're going to maintain P2, and you know what, eventually in P3 it's going to be a fight for Carlos Sainz then, as Sainz now fancies his move on the outside. So now maybe the blue wall hard tyres are coming into their own, and maybe now the mediums are starting to wear out enough where those hards are now fast enough for Carlos Sainz, and so he's going to come knocking on the door of the final podium position on the outside there into Stowe, whilst the two McLarens go side by side. Looks like Alonso trying to get past Van Dorn and get this seniority in the McLaren team. Carlos Sainz is going to do a great move there and squeeze out Verstappen for P3 in this Grand Prix. I don't know if Verstappen has anything to answer for that, but he's got two fast McLarens also closing him up, so very interesting times in this Grand Prix. Meanwhile behind, we kind of lost track of where Pierre Gasly is. It looks like he's gone way down the order there, so I don't know if he has issues in that Honda Power Toro car. We'll have to see, but for us, we move on to lap 21 in Village and still trying to do a job at defending now, because Carlos Sainz, after overtaking Verstappen, now fancies a move on me, so those hards now really coming into play as the tyre wear hits the medium tyres. And so with 5 laps to go, defending still very hard for this 1-2 for Ferrari. That'll be quite great in the kind of British backyard, I guess you could say, for the Italians. But obviously it's my home race, so it'd be great for us, for my team personally, to get 1-2. And so we do some good defensive work on the outside of that left-hander into the inside of the left field and keep Sainz at bay and try and back him up a little bit into Verstappen if we can help it. But we move on later into this Grand Prix. We talked about Pierre Gasly being slow, and he's got an engine failure in this race, and he's retiring, it looks like, out of this Grand Prix in a very dangerous position, actually, there on the racing line. He's held up. He's going to eventually park it up on the left-hand side in the kind of escapeway there, but for a second there, he was on the racing line. Very dangerous indeed. And the safety car is going to be called out on lap 22, the full core safety car. So this just got interesting because it's also starting to rain in this Grand Prix. If you look close enough on the chassis there, just underneath the halo, you can see some streaks of rain coming down. And obviously we saw the weather indicator did call for some rain. No one's going to come in under the safety car for a pit stop, it would seem. So we might have another situation like Mexico Season 2 where we're under the safety car conditions and it's still raining. And so it's going to be very slippery and cold. You can see how stone cold my tyres are on the right-hand side of the heads-up display, and I have no way to heat them up because there's no temperature on the track either, because obviously it's wet, it's damp, and so even if I weave about, there's no temperature going into these tyres. So it's going to be a very tricky restart here, because not only Sainz, but Verstappen and the 2 McLarens might have a good chance to try and attack us here, because we know how good the AI are on the restart of the safety car. So we now go, Raikkonen's bolted, we've gone with him, and initially it was quite a good getaway, but then into straight away, the first brake zone I hit, the tyres are so cold, I'm having to go so easy on them, that we just fall away. Raikkonen's already waltzed off in the distance for a comfortable P1 and guaranteed victory at this point, I think, with only 2 laps to go. But now Sainz attacks us into turn 1. We go wide, and I just don't have the grip to match him. And he's up into P2. I'm now defending against Verstappen quite desperately, who's just ahead of the McLaren, split by the Mercedes car, actually. So one of the Mercedes cars done well to actually overtake one of the McLarens there. But only now, you can see on the right-hand side, is the temperature starting to creep up into these rear tyres. Still having some issues on the exit, but Sainz now has gone away from us. He's just a second ahead. And now into the left field section, the temperatures are finally coming back to us in those tyres, and they're getting a bit green, but it's pretty much too late, basically, because we've only got a lap and a half left in this Grand Prix. So as we move on to the last lap of this race, then lap 26, I'm desperately trying to close up on Sainz there. We've done some great work in the middle sector of Magda Beckers to do that, but it's just a little bit too late for it really in this race. And so you can see on the minimap, Raikkonen has got already an age-old gap there, only after 2 laps of the restart being done. So he's going to come through for a very comfortable P1 then at the British Grand Prix, and a great win, to be fair. He deserved it all weekend. You know, he got the pole position. It's a pole and the win. He's completely just had me for pace, which has left me so baffled here. And unfortunately, we're going to come home behind Carlos Sainz, but it's still a great P3 and a podium nonetheless in this race.
Can't complain about that one. That was an excellent drive.
A great win then for the Maranello team today. So, Ant, how exactly did they set themselves apart from the pack today?
Without a doubt, the safety car changed everything today. The key to their success was keeping calm and reacting to the situation quickly. We've seen teams in the past throw away wins because they were too hesitant, but here they were decisive, and that's allowed them to take the advantage.
So, here they come now, out onto the podium. Wherever you go, anywhere in the world, the prancing horse flags are dominant in the grandstands, and they're out in force again today. It's Ferrari on the top step once more.
So Raikkonen with the win, and so again, yeah, like I said, just reiterating, very baffling weekend. Very weird. I don't know where the pace from the car came, because it's a 1-3, which overall for the team is great, but I don't know where that pace came from. And then I don't know where the individual pace came from Raikkonen, because he, as I said, had me for chips in his back pocket pretty much the entire race weekend. So I have a lot of homework to do going into the German Grand Prix to make sure I bounce back against Kimi, because I was very much surprised and taken aback by his pace. But fair play, GG. But for us in the championship then, obviously we did finish ahead of Verstappen by only a mere mere 1 place, so we do get a small amount of points on him. In the Constructors, though, that's the more important thing here today. With a win in P3, we now are level back on points with Renault, and we get up into P2 of the Constructors, so we're slowly coming back into this Constructors fight after slipping away a little bit in the recent few rounds with Renault creeping up. So hopefully this can be the start of us consistently performing again for points for the Constructors Championship's sake. That'll be quite ideal for the guys back in Maranello. But we're going to go now to Claire for the final interview question.
Good day today. Tell us about it from your perspective. You must be happy with the result today.
Obviously, I am happy with the result today, but at the same time, like I said, I'm left kind of more confused than anything after Raikkonen getting P1, so I'm going to go no comment for that answer because I don't really feel like answering it.
So talk us through what happened between you and your rival today.
And then obviously we had a great scrap with Verstappen, and so I'm going to say it was a good show. Obviously, it's always been good. We had one fight before, so it's always fun to have that kind of fighting.
Well, thanks anyway.
And so we come through to the end of the episode. We're actually drawing now with Raikkonen on the championship rivalry there on the left-hand side. Verstappen is still beating me narrowly, though, but only 1 position there. So we might have a chance to actually still beat Verstappen in the rivalry standings by next episode, which will be quite surprising, actually, to me, considering the Red Bull pace. But now going to the next episode, like I said, we had that upgrade, the ultimate upgrade for the tyre wear failed on us. So we're going to try and fix that then. And so for next episode, we're going to have a real double whammy if nothing else fails on the car. And we might become the best chassis on the grid and even overall the best car on paper, which is astounding because it just feels like yesterday where I was saying we need a lot of work, so we're already trying to work towards that. But it's a question of if that translates into actual real world race pace, because we've seen the Renaults, you know, able to win races, and they're still technically the 3rd best car on the 4th best car on the grid behind McLaren, and McLaren have been nowhere this season so far. So it's all really about how it actually goes out about on the actual racetrack rather than on paper now as we get into season 4. But guys, if you did enjoy that episode nonetheless, then be sure to hit that like button. Let me know your thought in the comments below. If you're not, did get subscribed for weekly full-on content. I've been aarava. I hope you enjoyed the rest of your day, and I'll see you guys next time. Goodbye.